Before the night fully arrives, the wind begins to change. It does not stop, and it does not disappear, but it softens, as if the world itself has decided to lower its voice. During the day, wind moves with energy, shaped by heat and urgency. At night, it learns patience. This is the moment when the wind becomes gentle. As the sun sinks below the horizon, the earth releases the warmth it collected throughout the day. Soil cools slowly. Trees exhale moisture. Water smooths its surface. This cooling changes the way air moves, and the wind responds immediately, adjusting its pace and direction without resistance. In open landscapes, the wind slows first. It stretches longer between movements, gliding instead of pushing. Where it once rushed, it now drifts. This transition happens everywhere at once, guided by temperature, gravity, and balance. The wind does not need instructions. It knows when to soften. Across jungles, the effect is subtle but deep. Tall trees that danced loudly during the day now sway only slightly. Leaves stop rattling and begin whispering. The wind weaves through branches carefully, choosing paths that avoid disturbance. The jungle breathes inward, and the wind follows. Animals sense this change instantly. Birds return to familiar branches, feathers puffed slightly against the cooling air. Insects replace sharp daytime noise with steady nighttime rhythms. Larger animals reduce movement, conserving energy. The wind carries scent instead of sound now, guiding awareness without urgency. Over oceans, the wind stretches into long, smooth paths. Waves grow wider and slower, their edges less defined. The sea no longer sparkles with activity. It reflects instead. Moonlight rests on the water, and the wind moves above it like a calm breath passing over glass. Even mountains respond. Wind climbs slopes more slowly at night, losing strength as stone cools. It curves gently around peaks instead of striking them. Snow settles more easily. Sound fades quickly. The mountains stand still, and the wind respects their stillness. This gentle wind plays an important role. It balances temperatures, carries moisture, and guides clouds without creating storms. It allows the earth to rest while remaining alive. Without this softness, night would feel harsh. With it, night becomes safe. Far below the surface, heat rises slowly from the Earth's core. This warmth prevents extreme cold, and the wind responds by adjusting its flow. Cold air sinks. Warm air rises. The exchange is slow and steady. The wind becomes a quiet messenger, moving balance across the planet. As darkness deepens, the sky transforms. Stars appear, one by one. The moon rises without sound. Clouds thin or drift slowly. The wind shapes them gently, stretching their edges instead of breaking them apart. Nothing rushes in the night sky. This is the beginning of a long journey. A journey where the wind moves through forests, across ice seas, around trees, through snow, over mountains, and across silent oceans. Each place changes the wind, and the wind changes each place in return. As you listen to this story, allow your breathing to follow the wind's rhythm. Slow, even, unforced. The world does not demand attention now. It offers rest. The night has only just begun, and the wind has already learned how to be gentle. As the night settles deeper, the gentle wind enters the jungle more fully, changing its behavior with quiet intelligence. During the day, wind pushes through leaves and branches, scattering sound in every direction. At night, it moves differently. It slips between trees instead of against them, choosing paths of least resistance, as if it understands the importance of rest. The jungle canopy forms a natural ceiling, catching and slowing the air. As wind rises, it cools and softens, losing the sharp energy it carried earlier. By the time it reaches the forest floor, it is no longer a force. It is a presence. Leaves barely tremble. Branches hold steady. The jungle becomes a place of listening rather than movement. Moisture fills the air as plants release water stored during the day. The wind gathers this moisture gently, spreading it evenly through the forest. This creates a sense of comfort, a balanced atmosphere where nothing feels dry or harsh. The air feels full, calm, and supportive, wrapping the jungle in quiet stability. Animals respond instinctively to this softened wind. Birds settle deeper into branches, adjusting their feathers to trap warmth. Their movements are minimal now, guided by balance rather than alertness. The wind carries their scent away slowly, preventing sudden changes that might disturb their rest. Insects replace the chaos of daylight with steady patterns. Their sounds blend into a continuous background rhythm, not demanding attention but providing reassurance that life continues. The wind does not interrupt these sounds. It carries them gently, spreading them evenly so no single noise stands out. On the forest floor, fallen leaves lie still, protected from sudden shifts in air. The wind glides above them, rarely reaching low enough to disturb their rest. Beneath these leaves, the soil remains warm and active. Roots exchange nutrients quietly. Small creatures move carefully, guided by memory rather than sight. Trees play an important role in shaping the night wind. Their trunks slow it, their branches divide it, their leaves soften it further. What enters the jungle as moving air leaves as calm presence. The forest transforms wind into stillness without stopping it. Higher in the canopy, the wind continues to move slowly, brushing the tops of trees where moonlight touches leaves. Here, movement is visible but gentle. Leaves sway slightly, reflecting light in soft patterns that rise and fall without rhythm or urgency. It feels like breathing rather than motion. The sky above the jungle remains clear and deep. Stars shine steadily, and the moon's glow filters down in fragments. The wind carries cool air from above, blending it with the warmth rising from the forest. This balance prevents sudden drops in temperature, keeping the jungle stable and calm. Predators become quiet observers at night. The softened wind carries scent clearly, allowing awareness without movement. Hunting becomes rare and deliberate. The night does not reward speed. It rewards patience. The wind supports this by removing sharp sounds and sudden shifts. As the hours pass, the jungle reaches one of its deepest states of calm. The wind has fully adapted. It no longer announces itself. It simply exists, moving slowly, evenly, invisibly. The forest breathes and the wind breathes with it. This gentle wind plays a protective role. It prevents air from becoming stagnant. It distributes moisture evenly. It carries warmth where it is needed and coolness where balance requires it. Without disturbance, without sound, it maintains the jungle's internal harmony. As you imagine this quiet jungle night, allow your thoughts to soften as well. There is no need to follow every sound or image. Let them blend together. Like the wind, you can move without effort, drifting toward stillness. Beyond the jungle, the wind continues its journey. It will soon leave the shelter of trees and travel toward open land and water, where its gentleness will take on new forms. But here, among roots, leaves, and quiet animals, the wind has learned one of its most important lessons. Gentleness is not weakness. It is balance. As the gentle wind leaves the shelter of the jungle, it enters open plains where the land stretches freely beneath the night sky. Here, there are fewer trees to guide it, fewer barriers to slow it down, yet the wind does not grow stronger. Instead, it becomes smoother, longer, and more even, as if the openness itself encourages calm. During the day, wind across plains can feel restless, chasing heat across the ground. At night, the soil cools evenly, releasing warmth slowly into the air. This change removes urgency from the wind. It no longer needs to rush from one place to another. It glides, carried by balance rather than difference. Grass bends softly under its touch. Each blade responds gently, leaning slightly before returning to rest. The sound is barely there, a faint whisper that rises and fades without pattern. The plains do not echo. They absorb. Sound travels farther here, but it travels quietly. Animals living in open lands respond carefully to this softened wind. Herds gather closer together, sharing warmth and stillness. Their movement slows until it becomes rare. Breathing grows deep and even. The wind carries scent across long distances now, allowing awareness without motion. Nothing surprises. Nothing startles. Small animals retreat beneath shallow burrows, where the earth holds steady warmth. The wind passes above them, unnoticed, shaping the surface without disturbing what rests below. Life divides itself naturally between movement and rest, guided by instinct and the predictable rhythm of night air. The sky feels vast here. Without tall trees, stars shine brighter, and the moon spreads its glow across the land without interruption. The wind carries cool air down from higher layers, mixing it gently with warmth rising from the ground. This exchange happens continuously, quietly, without sudden change. Snow may begin to fall lightly in some regions. The wind does not scatter it aggressively. Instead, it guides flakes downward in slow, drifting paths. Each flake finds its place without resistance. Snow settles evenly, smoothing the plains and absorbing sound further. Stillness deepens. Rivers crossing these open lands slow beneath the night. Thin ice forms along their edges, shaped gently by air moving above. Water continues its journey below, silent and steady. The wind schemes the surface lightly, never strong enough to break balance. As the night progresses, temperature differences flatten. Cold air settles closer to the ground. Warmer air drifts upward. The wind adjusts its flow automatically, maintaining stability across the land. It becomes less noticeable with every passing hour. The plains reach a state where movement feels optional. Nothing needs to move to remain alive. The wind exists simply to maintain balance, not to announce itself. Its presence is felt more than heard, like a steady breath in a quiet room. As you imagine standing beneath this open sky, allow the vastness to soften your thoughts. There is nothing to focus on sharply. The openness invites ease. The wind carries no message that requires action. It only offers calm. Beyond these plains, water waits again. Lakes and distant seas will receive this gentle wind and shape it further. But here, in the open land, the wind learns how to stretch time, how to move without pressure. The night continues to deepen, and the wind continues to soften, preparing for its journey toward water, ice, and distant mountains. As the gentle wind leaves the open plains, it begins to sense water long before it reaches the sea. The air grows heavier, carrying faint moisture that softens movement even further. Temperature changes become subtle, and the wind responds immediately, slowing its pace as it approaches wide, dark waters resting beneath the night sky. At the shoreline, the wind becomes careful. During the day, it pushes waves into motion and scatters spray into the air. At night, it behaves differently. It glides over the surface instead of pressing against it. The sea responds by stretching its waves farther apart, smoothing their edges until movement feels continuous rather than repetitive. Moonlight rests on the water, forming long, silver paths that shimmer gently and then fade. The wind touches these reflections lightly, never breaking them sharply. Each ripple rises slowly and falls completely before the next begins. The ocean breathes deeply now, guided by the softened wind above it. Sound changes here. The sharp crash of waves disappears, replaced by a low, steady murmur. The wind carries this sound evenly across the surface, blending it into the night rather than amplifying it. Nothing echoes harshly. Everything fades naturally. Farther from shore, the sea feels endless. Horizon and sky blend together, and direction loses importance. The wind moves in wide arcs, shaped by temperature and gravity rather than force. It carries cool air downward and lifts warmer air upward, creating a gentle exchange that keeps the ocean balanced and calm. Life beneath the surface responds as well. Fish move slowly through darker layers, conserving energy. Larger creatures drift with currents instead of against them. The wind does not disturb these movements. It shapes the surface while allowing the depths to remain quiet and protected. Clouds above the sea respond to this gentleness. They stretch instead of breaking apart, drifting slowly across the sky. The wind guides them without urgency, allowing moonlight and starlight to pass through in soft gradients. The sky becomes part of the ocean's rhythm, reflecting its calm. As night deepens, temperature differences flatten further. The wind loses more strength, becoming nearly invisible. Its presence is felt only through subtle changes in air and water. The sea accepts this fully, settling into one of its calmest states. In colder regions, thin ice begins to form along the edges of the sea. The wind supports this process gently, cooling the surface without stirring it. Ice spreads slowly, quietly, without cracking or sound. Water beneath continues to move, protected and steady. Along distant coasts, waves touch land softly and retreat just as slowly. Sand and stone absorb the motion without resistance. The wind carries the scent of salt and cold air inland, spreading calm far beyond the shoreline. As you imagine this night sea, allow your breathing to follow its rhythm. Inhale slowly as a wave rises. Exhale gently as it falls. There is no need to hurry. The ocean does not. The wind continues its journey, now carrying the calm of the sea toward colder regions where ice and snow will shape it further. But here, above dark water and silver light, the wind has reached one of its gentlest forms. The night remains wide and patient, and the wind moves on quietly, leaving the sea resting in perfect balance. As the gentle wind moves farther north, the sea begins to change beneath it. Water darkens, movement slows even more, and the surface starts to hold its shape. The air grows colder, clearer, and quieter, carrying a sharp stillness that feels clean and calming. Here, the wind learns how to move without disturbing, how to touch without breaking. Along the edges of the sea, thin ice begins to appear. It forms slowly, almost invisibly, spreading across the surface like a quiet thought. The wind supports this process by cooling the water evenly, never pushing hard enough to crack the forming ice. Instead, it glides above, allowing the surface to settle into calm stability. Ice does not arrive suddenly. It grows layer by layer, guided by balance rather than force. The wind moves gently across it, lifting faint crystals of frost and letting them fall again without sound. The sea breathes beneath this frozen cover, its movement hidden but alive, flowing steadily in deeper layers. Sound nearly disappears here. Ice absorbs vibration. Snow softens what remains. The wind carries silence instead of noise, spreading it across the frozen surface. Even when the wind moves, it feels distant, like a memory of motion rather than motion itself. Life beneath the ice continues calmly. Fish glide slowly through dark water, guided by temperature and instinct. Currents move with patience, carrying nutrients and warmth upward just enough to maintain balance. The wind does not interfere. It protects the surface, allowing life below to remain undisturbed. Above the ice sea, the sky feels vast and clear. Stars shine sharply in the cold air, their light reflected faintly across frozen surfaces. The moon glows softly, illuminating ice without glare. Clouds thin and stretch, shaped gently by the slow-moving wind. Snow begins to fall more steadily here. The wind guides each flake downward in smooth, drifting paths. Nothing spins wildly. Nothing collides. Snow settles evenly, thickening the silence and reinforcing the stillness. The ice sea becomes softer, quieter, more complete. Temperature differences flatten further as the night deepens. Cold air rests near the surface. Slightly warmer air drifts above. The wind adjusts automatically, maintaining this balance without effort. It no longer announces itself through sound or movement. It simply exists. Far from shore, the ice sea stretches endlessly. Direction feels irrelevant. Time feels slower. The wind moves in long, unbroken paths that seem to go nowhere and everywhere at once. This motion is not meant to carry anything forward. It is meant to maintain calm. As you imagine this frozen sea, allow your thoughts to slow completely. There is nothing to track, nothing to follow. The wind offers no signal that requires response. Like the ice, you can hold still without tension. The Earth continues its steady rotation, carrying this frozen surface beneath stars that never flicker. Heat rises slowly from below, preventing extremes. Ice remains stable. Wind remains gentle. Everything works together without awareness or effort. Beyond the ice sea, land begins to rise again. Snow-covered coasts and distant mountains wait quietly. The wind will follow these contours next, changing shape once more as it learns how to move around stone and snow. But here, above frozen water and deep silence, the wind has reached one of its quietest expressions. It does not push. It does not pull. It simply maintains balance, carrying the night forward without disturbance. As the gentle wind leaves the frozen sea behind, It carries cold air inland toward vast snow-covered lands. Here, the ground is wrapped in white silence, and the wind moves with even greater care. Snow changes the way sound travels, the way air flows, and the way the night feels. Everything becomes softer, slower, and more forgiving. The wind approaches these snowy fields without urgency. It does not rush across the surface. Instead, it glides just above the snow, lifting faint crystals and letting them settle again almost immediately. Each movement feels intentional, measured, and calm. Snow absorbs the wind's energy, returning it as silence. Falling snow responds beautifully to this gentle wind. Flakes drift downward in slow, graceful paths, guided rather than pushed. They turn softly in the air, catching moonlight for brief moments before disappearing into the white ground below. Nothing collides. Nothing spins wildly. Each flake seems to know exactly where it belongs. The land beneath the snow rests quietly. Hills lose their sharp edges, valleys soften, and textures fade into smooth gradients. The wind traces these shapes lightly, following the natural curves of the earth without disturbing them. Where slopes rise gently, the wind lifts. Where land dips, it settles. This movement feels like breathing rather than motion. Animals living in these snowy regions respond instinctively. Many rest deeply now, protected beneath thick layers of fur and snow. Their breathing slows, synchronized with the stillness around them. Others move carefully, leaving soft tracks that fade quickly as fresh snow falls. The wind carries scent gently, allowing awareness without alarm. Trees scattered across the snow-covered land interact quietly with the wind. Branches hold heavy snow without strain. When the wind passes, they release only the lightest dusting, which drifts downward without sound. Leaves and needles barely move. The forest does not sway. It rests. The air feels clean and clear. Cold settles evenly, without sharp drops or sudden shifts. The wind supports this balance by mixing air layers slowly, preventing extremes. Warmth from the earth rises just enough to maintain stability beneath the snow, while cold air rests above, holding everything in place. Sound becomes rare here. Snow absorbs footsteps, wind softens movement, and distance stretches silence even further. The wind carries no sharp edges. It spreads calm across the land, smoothing what little disturbance remains. Above the snowy fields, the sky remains vast and open. Stars shine clearly in the cold air, and the moon's light spreads gently across the white surface below. Shadows appear faint and soft, never sharp or demanding. Light feels comforting rather than stimulating. As the night deepens, snowfall may increase slightly. The wind continues to guide it patiently, never allowing chaos. Each flake lands softly, adding another layer to the quiet. The world feels held, protected by snow and gentle air. Far beneath the surface, life continues quietly. Roots remain insulated. Small creatures move slowly within hidden spaces. Water flows beneath frozen layers, guided by gravity and warmth. The wind does not interfere. It protects the surface, allowing everything below to remain stable. As you imagine standing within this snow-covered world, allow your thoughts to slow completely. There is nothing here that requires action. The wind offers no direction, only calm. Like the falling snow, you can settle without effort. Beyond these snowy lands, taller shapes begin to rise. Mountains wait ahead, shaped by stone, ice, and time. The wind will soon learn how to move around them, becoming even more deliberate and quiet. But here, across open snow and falling flakes, the wind has mastered patience. It moves slowly, evenly, gently, carrying the night forward without disturbance. As the gentle wind moves deeper into the forests again, the night feels more enclosed, more intimate. Trees stand closer together here, their tall forms creating natural corridors where air flows slowly and thoughtfully. The wind no longer travels freely as it did across open snowfields. It listens to the forest, adjusting its movement to every trunk, branch, and leaf. At night, trees interact with the wind in a different way. During the day, they sway, respond, and sometimes resist. Now they accept. Branches remain mostly still, allowing the wind to pass around them rather than through them. Leaves barely move, producing only the softest whisper, a sound so gentle it feels like part of silence itself. The wind circles tree trunks carefully, rising slightly along the bark before slipping back down toward the forest floor. This movement slows the air even more, breaking it into smaller, softer currents. By the time the wind reaches the ground, it feels like a calm breath rather than moving air. Snow resting on branches responds delicately. When the wind touches it, only the lightest dust falls, drifting downward in slow motion. No branch shakes. No sound breaks the quiet. Snow lands softly on the forest floor, adding another layer of calm. The forest floor absorbs everything. Fallen leaves, soil, and snow work together to muffle sound and movement. The wind glides above this surface, rarely disturbing it. Roots below remain warm and active, exchanging nutrients quietly. Life continues unseen, supported by the forest's deep stillness. Animals resting in trees sense the wind's gentleness. Birds remain tucked into branches, feathers fluffed slightly against the cool air. Their breathing is slow and steady. They do not adjust position often, trusting the stability of the night. The wind carries their scent away slowly, preventing sudden changes that could disturb them. Small mammals move cautiously near the ground. When they do move, it is brief and deliberate. The wind does not startle them. It does not carry sharp sounds or sudden shifts. It supports awareness without urgency, allowing life to remain calm. Higher in the canopy, moonlight filters through leaves and branches in soft fragments. The wind moves through these upper layers gently, causing slow, almost imperceptible shifts in light and shadow. These changes feel rhythmic rather than random, like a quiet pulse spreading through the forest. Temperature remains balanced here. Trees release stored warmth slowly, preventing sudden drops. The wind mixes cooler air from above with this warmth, maintaining comfort throughout the forest. Nothing becomes too cold. Nothing changes abruptly. As the night deepens, the forest reaches one of its most peaceful states. The wind has fully adapted. It does not push. It does not pull. It simply flows where space allows, respecting every boundary. The soundscape becomes simple. A distant owl call may drift briefly before fading. Snow may settle quietly from a branch. Otherwise, silence dominates, full and reassuring. The wind carries this silence gently, spreading it evenly rather than breaking it. As you imagine standing among these trees, allow your own body to respond. Shoulders soften. Breathing slows. Thoughts lose their sharp edges. Like the wind, you can move through this moment without resistance. Beyond this forest, the land will rise again toward mountains, where the wind must change once more. But here, among trees and shadow, the wind has learned how to be careful, how to be quiet, how to be kind. It moves on slowly, leaving the forest wrapped in calm, undisturbed, and deeply at rest. As the gentle wind leaves the shelter of the forest, it begins to climb. The land slowly rises, trees thin out, and stone replaces soil. Mountains appear ahead, their slopes covered in snow and shadow. Here, the wind changes again not by force, but by understanding. Elevation teaches patience. Cold teaches softness. At night, mountains cool evenly. The heat they gathered during the day releases slowly into the sky, smoothing temperature differences that once drove strong winds. As a result, the wind that reaches these slopes is already calm. It moves upward carefully, losing strength with every meter it climbs. Snow-covered rock absorbs sound and motion. Sharp edges disappear beneath white layers, and the wind glides over these softened surfaces without resistance. It curves naturally along ridges, dips into valleys, and slips through narrow passes like a quiet thought passing through the mind. High above, the air feels thinner and clearer. The wind moves in long, stretched paths, never rushing, never colliding. When it meets a peak, it does not strike. It flows around it, splitting gently into smaller currents that rejoin further along the slope. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is abrupt. Ice forms naturally in shaded areas. The wind supports this by maintaining balance, cooling surfaces evenly instead of unevenly. No sudden cracks echo through the night. Ice settles confidently, holding its shape. The mountain becomes still, and the wind respects that stillness. Animals adapted to these heights respond instinctively. Mountain creatures rest on sheltered ledges, choosing balance over movement. Their bodies conserve heat. Their breathing slows. The wind carries scent clearly but quietly, allowing awareness without urgency. No sudden sound disrupts their rest. Glaciers lie silent beneath the moonlight. Their movement is measured in years rather than moments. The wind passes above them gently, never strong enough to disturb their surface. Snow drifts lightly, adding layers that protect the ice below. Everything here moves at the pace of deep time. The sky above the mountains feels close and vast at the same time. Stars shine with sharp clarity in the cold air. The moon casts soft light across slopes, revealing gentle curves rather than sharp lines. Shadows stretch long and blur at the edges, creating calm rather than contrast. As the night deepens, the wind grows even quieter. Temperature differences flatten. Cold air settles into valleys. Slightly warmer air rises slowly along slopes. The wind becomes the messenger between them, maintaining balance without effort. Sound fades almost completely. Snow absorbs what little remains. Stone reflects nothing. The wind carries silence across peaks and into the sky. Even the idea of movement feels distant here. As you imagine standing on a quiet mountain slope at night, allow your awareness to expand and soften. There is no urgency at this height. No demand. The wind does not push you forward. It simply exists beside you. Beyond these peaks, the land will fall again into valleys and frozen seas. The wind will follow, changing shape once more. But here, among ice, stone, and stars, the wind reaches one of its purest forms. Gentle, steady, and endlessly patient. As the gentle wind travels deeper into the ice mountains, the landscape becomes quieter and more refined. Here, snow and ice dominate every surface, shaping the world into smooth forms that reflect moonlight softly. The wind no longer needs to adjust quickly. Everything here already moves slowly, and the air follows the rhythm that the ice has set. Glaciers stretch across valleys like frozen rivers, their surfaces calm and unbroken. The wind glides above them without pressure, careful not to disturb the fragile balance that holds centuries of ice in place. Its movement feels almost ceremonial, as if it understands the age and patience of the land beneath. At night, ice releases cold evenly into the surrounding air. This removes sharp temperature differences, leaving the wind with no reason to rush. It drifts in long, steady paths, tracing the contours of frozen slopes and disappearing into wide, silent basins. Motion exists, but it feels distant, like a slow echo. Snow crystals resting on the ice respond gently to the passing wind. A few lift into the air, turning softly before settling again. There is no swirl, no rush. Each movement completes itself fully, then returns to stillness. The ice mountains accept the wind without resistance. Sound becomes almost non-existent. Ice absorbs vibration. Snow softens what little remains. The wind carries silence instead of noise, spreading it across peaks and valleys alike. Even your thoughts, when imagined here, seem to slow and thin, becoming lighter. Animals in these high, frozen regions remain mostly hidden. Those that are awake move carefully, choosing shelter over exposure. Their senses remain sharp, but their bodies stay still. The wind carries scent clearly, allowing awareness without movement. Life continues quietly, trusting the stability of the night. Above the ice mountains, the sky appears deeper and clearer. Stars shine with unwavering brightness, unaffected by cloud or haze. The moon hangs low or high depending on the hour, casting a pale glow that smooths shadows rather than deepening them. Light here feels calm, never dramatic. As the night progresses, the wind grows even gentler. Cold air settles fully into the landscape. Warmer air rises slowly from below the ice, guided by the Earth's hidden warmth. The wind moves between these layers like a careful mediator, maintaining balance without effort. Glaciers continue their silent journey, moving so slowly they seem still. The wind does not interfere. It passes overhead quietly, respecting the pace of deep time. Snow continues to fall lightly, adding layer after layer without sound or urgency. The ice mountains feel timeless. Nothing here reacts quickly. Nothing changes suddenly. The wind becomes part of this stillness, existing more as presence than motion. It feels less like air moving and more like the night breathing. As you imagine standing among these frozen peaks, allow yourself to release any remaining tension. There is nothing here that demands attention. The wind offers no direction, no message. It simply exists, calm and steady. Beyond these ice mountains, the land will gradually soften again, descending into valleys and frozen seas. The wind will follow, carrying this deep calm with it. But here, among ancient ice and endless stars, the wind reaches a profound quiet. It does not announce itself. It does not disturb. It simply remains. As the gentle wind moves away from the frozen mountains, it begins to approach a different kind of landscape, burning mountains or volcanoes, where heat and light emerge from deep within the earth. Even here, at night, the wind learns how to be careful, how to move without disturbance, and how to carry the contrast between fire and darkness with quiet patience. During the day, the wind around volcanoes can be wild and unpredictable, driven by hot air rising rapidly and gases escaping from the earth. But at night, the intensity softens. Heat still rises, but slowly, gently, and the wind adapts. It curves around slopes instead of colliding with them. It glides above cooled lava and stones, absorbing warmth without carrying it violently. The glow of molten rock reflects on clouds above, painting faint red and orange patterns across the night sky. The wind moves through these illuminated paths carefully, smoothing the edges, allowing the firelight to drift softly across the volcanic slopes. The contrast between heat and cool night air creates a delicate balance that the wind respects. Ash, light and fine, rises slowly from distant vents. The wind lifts it just enough to spread it gently over nearby slopes, allowing it to settle without abrupt motion. There is no chaos here. Even fire has a rhythm at night, and the wind matches it with patience. Animals adapted to these harsher landscapes respond instinctively. Many retreat into safe shelters during night hours, relying on instinct and quiet observation. Others, such as birds or small mammals, move carefully among rocks and trees, aware of warmth below but never startled. The wind carries scent and sound softly, enabling survival without urgency. Across cooled lava fields, stones hold the memory of heat, radiating it slowly into the night. The wind rises over each ridge, balancing this warmth with the cooler air above. Movement is minimal, deliberate, and calm. Even where glowing cracks appear, the wind moves with measured caution, never forcing interaction. Above the volcanic slopes, stars remain visible between drifting clouds. The moonlight softens the intensity of lava reflections, blending heat and night into a scene of quiet contrast. Light and shadow exist together without sharpness, and the wind ensures that both are carried gently through the air. Temperature differences are balanced subtly. Warm air rises from molten pockets, cool air descends from the night sky. The wind moves between these layers like a mediator, smoothing extremes and maintaining harmony. Where the day might have created turbulence, the night encourages softness. Sounds are distant and muted. Occasional crackle from distant lava vents is absorbed by the air, snow on nearby mountains, or the cooled rock itself. The wind spreads the faint noises, diffusing them across the night until even the smallest sound feels calm rather than alarming. Standing among these burning mountains in imagination, you can feel the delicate tension between heat and cold, fire and night. The wind becomes your companion, moving steadily, carrying warmth without urgency, creating a sense of balance in contrast. Every inhale follows the soft rise of warm air. Every exhale mirrors the gentle flow of cooler layers. Beyond the volcanic slopes, land flattens into valleys, forests, and plains once more. The wind will follow these contours, maintaining the calm it has learned across ice, snow, forests, and fire. But here, at these unique mountains, the wind shows that gentleness can exist even among extremes. It does not push against heat. It does not disturb balance. It simply flows, steady, patient, and eternal. As the night deepens, The gentle wind leaves the burning mountains behind and rises toward the open sky. Here, it moves across wide landscapes under the vast canvas of stars. The air is cooler and thinner, carrying scents, sounds, and whispers of distant lands with calm precision. There is no urgency now. The wind flows freely, yet softly, as if it knows the night demands only balance and patience. Above plains, forests, and valleys, the wind stretches longer and slower paths. Mountains, rivers, and trees below guide it gently, shaping its direction without force. The wind drifts over hills and dips into valleys, moving steadily without rush. Shadows of trees elongate and fade in moonlight, casting quiet patterns that blend seamlessly with the dark earth. Stars shine brightly in the clear night sky, each one a distant pulse of light. The wind carries the coolness of space, blending it with warmth from the earth below. Light and air mingle quietly, creating a sense of equilibrium that calms everything it touches. The night feels vast, protective, and intimate all at once. Animals under this wide sky respond to the wind with subtle movements. Birds rest in quiet treetops, their feathers ruffled gently by air currents. Small mammals move carefully through forests and grasslands, guided by scent and instinct rather than sound or sight. The wind enables awareness without urgency, offering protection and comfort. Rivers and lakes mirror the night sky, reflecting stars and moonlight. The gentle wind schemes their surfaces, creating slow ripples that stretch and fade without abruptness. Water and air move together like partners in a silent dance, each responding to the other with patience and care. Clouds drift high above, thin and faint, guided by long, smooth currents. The wind nudges them lightly, creating flowing shapes that change slowly, almost imperceptibly. Moonlight passes through these forms softly, illuminating the night with subtle gradients of light and shadow. The effect is calming, cinematic, and soothing, inviting deep relaxation. Temperature is steady across the landscape. Cool air from above mixes with warmth radiating from soil, rocks, and water. The wind mediates between these layers, balancing them naturally. No sudden gusts disrupt the night. No harsh changes force movement. Everything exists in gentle equilibrium. Sound fades further in this wide, open expanse. Only the soft rustle of leaves, distant water, and occasional animal calls remain, carried slowly by the wind. Each noise is absorbed by the night before it can become startling, creating a peaceful, steady rhythm. Even the mind feels encouraged to slow, following the calm patterns of nature. From this perspective, the night sky seems infinite. Stars stretch across horizons, and the wind rises higher, flowing over every hill, tree, and river. It moves without effort, observing and supporting the world beneath it. Its presence is quiet, constant, and comforting. As you imagine standing beneath this expanse, allow your breathing to match the wind's rhythm. Inhale as it rises, exhale as it flows across valleys. Let your thoughts settle, like leaves drifting on a calm river. Nothing here demands attention. Everything is supported by patience and gentle motion. Beyond this open expanse, the wind will descend again, moving toward forests, mountains, and rivers it has touched before. Each journey shapes it further, teaching it softness, balance, and continuity. But here, under the infinite night sky, the wind has reached a form that is vast, free, and profoundly calming. It does not rush. It does not push. It exists simply, steady and infinite, guiding the night with care. As the gentle wind drifts downward from the wide night sky, it approaches the vast expanse of the sea. The water stretches endlessly, dark and reflective, holding the quiet of night within its depths. Here, the wind slows even further, becoming a delicate presence, moving over waves that rise and fall in a gentle, rhythmic pattern. The surface of the sea is calm. Daytime turbulence has faded, leaving soft ripples that catch moonlight and scatter silver threads across the water. The wind glides over these ripples, smoothing edges and blending motion, creating the illusion of a moving mirror. Every wave follows its neighbor, rising and falling without clash, echoing the wind's calm passage. Along the shoreline, sand and stones feel the touch of the wind with tenderness. Tiny grains lift briefly and fall, carry just enough to shift softly. Nothing crashes. Nothing is forced. The rhythm of the shore reflects the wind's gentle guidance, inviting the night to settle even more deeply. Life beneath the waves continues silently. Fish drift lazily in dark waters, moving with subtle currents rather than effort. Larger sea creatures glide with grace, guided by instinct and a sense of balance. The wind does not disturb them. It protects the surface while maintaining a flow above, leaving the ocean beneath undisturbed. Clouds over the sea move slowly, guided by faint, long currents. Their shapes shift gradually, and moonlight passes through them in soft gradients, casting gentle shadows on the waves below. The wind carries no urgency. It merely supports the natural dance of water, light, and air. Occasionally, small sea sprays rise and drift toward the sky. The wind catches them lightly, dispersing them evenly without scattering or chaos. The droplets glimmer in moonlight for a brief moment before returning to the water, adding a sense of magic to the calm night. Temperature differences across the water are minimal. Warmth from daytime heat has dissipated, leaving a steady coolness that spreads evenly. The wind moves between layers of air, mixing them without abruptness. Everything exists in equilibrium, and the night feels endless and peaceful. Sound is rare and soft. Waves whisper rather than crash. The occasional call of a distant seabird travels slowly, absorbed into the calm air before it reaches the shore. Even the rhythmic pulse of water beneath the surface seems distant, muted by the wind's gentle touch. Standing in imagination at the edge of this night sea, you can feel the wind on your skin, the moonlight on your face, and the soft rhythm of water beneath. Breathing aligns with the waves. Each inhale rises, each exhale falls. The world feels supported, protected, and infinitely calm. Beyond the horizon, the wind carries this gentle energy to distant coasts, ice seas, and open oceans, connecting landscapes with silent motion. Its passage is continuous and careful, never rushed, never harsh. Every drop of water, every stretch of sand, every ripple is part of its serene journey. Here, above the night sea, the wind shows that stillness and motion are not opposites but partners. By moving softly, it creates rest. By existing quietly, it spreads comfort. The ocean reflects this truth, holding the calm in its mirrored depths. The night continues uninterrupted, and the wind flows steadily onward, guiding the sea into deeper peace. It does not push, it does not demand. It simply exists, carrying the quiet of night across endless waters. As the gentle wind rises once more, it turns toward the mountains in the distance. These peaks are dark silhouettes against the starlit sky, their slopes hidden in shadow, yet every ridge and valley is known to the wind. Here, it moves slowly, deliberately, learning how to travel around stone and snow, around steep cliffs and sheltered hollows. Night in the mountains is different from open plains or forests. Temperature shifts create gentle currents that the wind must navigate carefully. Cool air sinks into valleys, warmer air drifts upward along slopes. The wind becomes a mediator, carrying one layer to meet another without causing turbulence. Its motion is deliberate, flowing with grace rather than force. The rocky terrain softens under night snow, muffling sound and shaping movement. Even steep cliffs, rough by day, become part of the night's rhythm. Snow clings lightly to rocks, and the wind glides across these surfaces, barely lifting any flakes, letting them settle slowly. Every surface is touched gently, every motion deliberate. Higher slopes hold patches of ice, thin and fragile. The wind approaches these areas carefully, aware that even a small disturbance could shift balance. It moves over ice with patience, supporting its quiet formation, blending the frozen surfaces into the rhythm of the night. Ice reflects moonlight softly, creating a serene glow that spreads across valleys and ridges. Animals in these high regions adjust instinctively. Mountain goats rest on ledges, curled against the cool night. Their breathing slows. Their movements are deliberate. Predators remain hidden, moving with caution and patience. The wind carries scent and warmth evenly, allowing all life to exist in quiet equilibrium. Clouds drift near the peaks, their forms stretched by long, smooth currents. Moonlight passes through them, casting faint, moving shadows across snow and stone. The wind moves these clouds gently, never forcing them, only guiding them along invisible paths. Light and shadow flow together, creating a cinematic scene of calm and balance. Sounds are muted. Snow absorbs echoes. Stone reflects nothing. Even distant avalanches are rare, softened by the slow, careful motion of air. The wind becomes nearly silent, its presence felt more than heard, like the memory of motion lingering in the cool night. From ridge to valley, the wind travels with a rhythm of its own. It curves around peaks, slips into hollows, and rises over open slopes. Its movement encourages stability. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is abrupt. Every curve and turn feels deliberate, measured, perfect in its calmness. Standing in imagination on a quiet mountain slope at night, you can feel the wind brushing lightly against your face. You sense the vastness of the sky above and the depth of valleys below. Breathing aligns with this rhythm. Each inhale rises with the wind, each exhale descends into the calm valleys. Thoughts slow, settling into the motion of night air. Beyond these peaks, the land will stretch downward toward forests, plains, and distant seas. The wind will carry the serenity of the mountains along with it, connecting heights and lowlands with quiet motion. But here, among peaks, snow, and ice, it has reached a refined form, patient, deliberate, and endlessly calm. It moves without rush. It flows without urgency. It simply exists, bringing balance and comfort wherever it touches. As the gentle wind descends into icy valleys, it encounters snow in its purest, untouched form. These valleys are blanketed in thick layers of white, stretching far into the distance, holding every contour of the land beneath with quiet precision. The wind moves slowly here, tracing the folds and slopes without force, carrying a sense of stillness that invites calm. Snowflakes rest delicately on rocks, trees, and frozen streams. When the wind passes, only the lightest particles lift and drift in long, graceful arcs, settling gently back into place. There is no rush, no swirl, only the quiet repetition of motion and return. Each flake completes its journey fully before the next begins. The valleys themselves absorb everything. Hard surfaces are softened by snow, rocks lose sharp edges, and frozen streams appear smooth and reflective. The wind glides above these surfaces effortlessly, its path dictated by the gentle rise and fall of the landscape. Movement exists but is almost imperceptible, like a slow, rhythmic breathing. Animals living in these icy valleys remain calm and protected. Small mammals burrow beneath snow, insulated from cold and motion. Birds perch quietly, fluffed against frost. Even larger creatures move slowly, if at all, aware of the soft wind and the night stillness. Every life form senses the rhythm and participates, consciously or not, in this quiet symphony. Ice formations along valley walls shimmer faintly under the moonlight. Icicles hang delicately, frozen waterfalls remain still, and frozen rocks capture the soft glow. The wind moves around these formations, lifting no more than a whisper of frost into the air. Each crystal remains undisturbed, adding to the visual and emotional calm of the scene. Above, clouds drift lazily, guided by long, smooth currents. They stretch across the sky, casting soft shadows over the snow below. Moonlight filters through in pale gradients, illuminating the valley with gentle light rather than harsh glare. The wind touches these clouds lightly, shaping without urgency, blending light and shadow into a continuous, soothing pattern. Temperature in the valley remains steady. Cool air settles near the surface, slightly warmer layers rise above, and the wind moves between them with perfect equilibrium. Nothing changes abruptly. Nothing demands adaptation. Every movement, whether of air, snow, or shadow, occurs in balance. Sound is minimal. The thick snow absorbs footsteps, rocks hold echoes at bay, and distant movements are softened before reaching ears. The wind carries only whispers, the faintest rustle of flakes or the gentle hum of air passing over icy surfaces. Even in this silence, the night feels alive yet profoundly calm. Standing in imagination within these snowy valleys, you can feel your breathing sync with the rhythm of wind and snow. Inhale as flakes drift upward, exhale as they settle. Your thoughts soften. Your body relaxes. The valleys, ice, and wind create a sanctuary for the mind, free from urgency, full of quiet beauty. Beyond these icy expanses, the wind will continue to glide toward forests, rivers, and distant mountains. Each journey reinforces its rhythm of care, patience, and calm. But here, among snowfall and frozen valleys, it reaches a form of gentle perfection. It moves without force. It touches without pressure. It simply exists, flowing endlessly, carrying peace across the night. As the gentle wind leaves the icy valleys behind, it drifts back toward forests. Night has wrapped the trees in darkness, yet the moonlight filters softly through branches, illuminating leaves and trunks in delicate patterns. The wind slows to a patient pace, moving among the trees like a silent visitor, aware of every branch and leaf it touches. Leaves respond to the wind with barely perceptible movements. They do not flap or shake harshly. Instead, they bend slightly, creating faint ripples that travel through the canopy like gentle waves. The wind's passage is slow and deliberate, a quiet caress that encourages rest rather than activity. Beneath the trees, shadows shift softly. Trunks cast long, subtle shapes that move imperceptibly with the wind. Moonlight filters through gaps in the canopy, creating streaks of pale illumination on the forest floor. The combination of light and slow motion creates a sense of balance, calm, and serenity that pervades the entire landscape. Small animals move cautiously, guided by instinct and the rhythm of the wind. Birds rest quietly in high branches, occasionally fluttering their wings without sound. Mammals glide across the forest floor, leaving soft traces in fallen leaves and pine needles. The wind supports their motion, carrying scent and sound evenly, allowing life to continue without disturbance. The forest floor is soft and forgiving. Fallen leaves, needles, and moss absorb sound and movement. Every step, every gentle breeze, is softened and balanced. The wind passes over the terrain with care, touching the earth lightly and moving on, leaving no mark beyond the gentle whisper of motion. Branches laden with snow or frost shift just enough to release the smallest particles. The wind catches these crystals lightly, allowing them to drift down in slow arcs. They settle silently, adding layers to the forest floor and enhancing the calm, cinematic atmosphere. Nothing falls abruptly, nothing collides. Everything blends into quiet perfection. Clouds above continue to drift slowly, stretched thin by distant currents. Moonlight passes through, casting patterns of light and shadow that mirror the wind's subtle rhythm below. Every motion from leaf to cloud, from snowflake to shadow, seems synchronized, creating a seamless flow of calm. Temperature is stable. Cool air rests near the ground, warmer air drifts lightly above the canopy. The wind moves between these layers with care, preventing sudden changes. Even the smallest variations are smoothed out, maintaining comfort for every living creature in the forest. Sounds are minimal. Occasional rustle of leaves, faint crackle of distant branches, and the soft movement of animals reach the ear subtly, diffused by the forest's natural insulation. The wind carries these sounds gently, spreading them evenly rather than letting them break the night's calm. Standing in imagination within this forest, you feel your breathing align with the rhythm of wind, leaves, and shadows. Each inhale rises with a slow wave of air. Each exhale drifts downward like a leaf settling on the forest floor. Thoughts settle naturally, and the body follows, relaxing into the calmness that surrounds. Beyond these woods, the wind will continue to explore valleys, rivers, mountains, and open plains. Each landscape teaches it patience, care, and gentle motion. But here, in the still night forest, the wind demonstrates its mastery of quiet presence, guiding the night without rush or interruption. It moves without force. It touches without pressure. It simply exists, bringing calm, balance, and gentle rhythm to everything it passes. As the gentle wind rises from the forest, it ascends once more toward the mountain peaks. Night has draped the slopes in darkness, yet moonlight glints softly on the snow and ice, revealing gentle curves and hidden textures. The wind moves carefully here, aware of every ridge and hollow, flowing around the peaks without force, carrying the tranquility of the night across heights that seem endless. Snow blankets the mountains, softening sharp edges and muffling sound. The wind glides over these surfaces, lifting only the faintest crystals into the air. Each flake spins slowly, drifting down in quiet arcs before settling again. There is no rush. There is no chaos. Every movement is deliberate, harmonious, and soothing. The peaks themselves rise silently. Steep cliffs, jagged rocks, and icy slopes hold their stillness. The wind moves along each surface with care, following natural paths without disturbing the fragile balance. It curves around ledges, slips into narrow passes, and rises along ridges, maintaining a rhythm that is calm and patient. Animals that inhabit these high elevations remain still or move slowly. Mountain goats nestle on ledges, their fur fluffed against the cold. Snow leopards or other nocturnal creatures patrol softly, every step measured and quiet. The wind carries their scents gently, allowing awareness without alarm, providing a sense of continuity and protection. Above, the night sky stretches endlessly. Stars twinkle clearly in the cold air, and the moon casts its pale light across snow and rock. Clouds drift far above, thin and stretched, guided by currents too high to disturb the mountain air below. The wind moves with them, brushing past in gentle waves, smoothing the sky's motion without urgency. Temperature differences between sun-warmed rocks and shaded snow are subtle now. The wind blends these layers evenly, rising gently over warmer surfaces and descending softly into cooler pockets. No sudden changes occur. No extremes disrupt the balance. Every motion of air, snow, and shadow is slow, deliberate, and calm. Sound is minimal. Snow absorbs footsteps and echoes. Rock reflects little. The occasional distant crack of ice or faint rustle of a nocturnal animal drifts softly, carried evenly by the wind. Even these small noises seem part of the night's rhythm, never startling, never intrusive. As you imagine standing on a quiet mountain peak at night, the wind brushes lightly against your face. Moonlight glows across ridges, and stars stretch endlessly overhead. Your breathing slows, aligning with the rhythm of snow and wind. Each inhale rises, each exhale drifts downward, settling your mind and body into stillness. The peaks, the snow, and the wind together create a sanctuary of calm. The wind carries this tranquility downward as it continues to explore valleys, forests, and plains below. Each mountain teaches patience, balance, and careful motion. But at these peaks, the wind demonstrates mastery of stillness and harmony, moving without rush, touching without force, existing purely as a gentle presence. It flows without pressure. It rises without haste. It simply exists, bringing peace to every ridge, slope, and snow-covered surface it passes. As the gentle wind descends from the mountain peaks, it enters a forest blanketed in snow. Night has hushed the trees completely, and moonlight casts silver patterns across branches, trunks, and the soft, white forest floor. The wind moves slowly among these frozen trees, careful not to disturb the fragile balance that holds snow, ice, and bark together. Branches bow gently under the weight of snow, and the wind passes around them without force. Only the lightest crystals lift, drifting in slow arcs before settling back to the ground. Each movement feels intentional, soft, and meditative, like the breathing of the forest itself. The forest floor is quiet and inviting. Fallen needles, leaves, and snow absorb sound and cushion motion. Even small animals move carefully, their steps muffled by this natural carpet. Birds huddle in branches, fluffed against the cold, and larger mammals find shelter among thick trunks. All life moves in harmony with the night, guided by the wind's gentle touch. Moonlight reflects off icy surfaces, creating a shimmering glow that spreads throughout the forest. The wind drifts past icicles, frozen streams, and snow-laden branches, carrying the quiet light with it. Shadows shift softly, blending seamlessly with the glow, creating a cinematic scene that feels both vast and intimate. Temperature is steady and calming. Cool night air rests in low areas while slightly warmer currents drift above the canopy. The wind flows between these layers smoothly, balancing the cold and the warmth. Every breath of air feels comfortable, enhancing the serenity of the snow-covered forest. Sounds are minimal, yet present in the softest forms. A distant owl calls briefly, leaves rustle faintly, and snow shifts quietly under the wind's touch. Each sound blends into the night rather than breaking it, contributing to a deep sense of calm. The forest is alive yet completely peaceful. Snowflakes continue to drift gently in the light breeze. They follow slow, elegant paths, sometimes catching the moonlight and sparkling faintly before landing softly on branches and the ground. There is no rush, no collision. Every flake completes its journey fully, adding to the rhythm of night and wind. As you imagine standing among these icy trees, your own body begins to mirror the calm around you. Breathing slows naturally, shoulders relax, and thoughts soften. Each inhale rises like the wind moving through the canopy, and each exhale drifts downward like snow settling on the ground. The forest guides your mind towards stillness. The wind in these snow-covered forests is patient. It curves around every branch, slips gently along every trunk, and flows between trunks and trees with care. It does not disturb. It does not push. It exists simply as a presence that supports the calm, connecting every part of the forest into a quiet, harmonious whole. Beyond this frozen forest, the wind will continue its journey over valleys, plains, rivers, and distant mountains. Each landscape it touches adds to its knowledge of balance, patience, and gentle motion. But here, among snow-laden trees and icebound streams, it has reached a deep, meditative calm, flowing quietly, endlessly, and perfectly. It moves without force. It touches without hurry. It simply exists, spreading serenity through the night and across the frozen world. As the gentle wind leaves the frozen forest behind, it drifts once more toward the night sea. The ocean stretches endlessly, dark and calm, reflecting the stars above like scattered diamonds. The wind moves across the water softly, barely lifting the surface, guiding the night with subtle, deliberate motion. Waves rise and fall slowly, their rhythm steady and soothing. The wind glides over them without interruption, smoothing tiny ripples into longer, flowing patterns. Each crest follows the next naturally, echoing the wind's calm journey, and the ocean responds in kind, moving in perfect harmony with the night air. Along the shoreline, sand and small rocks feel the wind's gentle touch. Tiny grains shift slowly, barely noticeable, while larger stones remain still. The wind brushes over shells and driftwood, adjusting their position imperceptibly, maintaining the quiet equilibrium of the beach. Nothing is forced. Everything follows a natural, unhurried rhythm. Life in and near the ocean responds to this calm. Nocturnal seabirds perch quietly on distant rocks, their feathers ruffled lightly by the passing wind. Fish glide slowly beneath the waves, their movements in perfect rhythm with the gentle currents. Even larger marine creatures, far below the surface, seem to sense the night's steady pace, moving only as needed. Moonlight reflects off the waves, creating ribbons of silver that stretch across the sea. The wind carries this light along with it, brushing over the surface to enhance its softness. Clouds above drift slowly, guided by faint, high currents. Their movement is gradual and rhythmic, complementing the motion of the water below. Temperature is balanced across the ocean and air above. Cool night currents mix with residual warmth from daytime sun, and the wind flows evenly between layers, smoothing differences naturally. The result is an environment of comfort and stability, where motion and stillness coexist peacefully. Sounds are muted and gentle. Waves lap softly against the shore, occasional distant calls of seabirds drift lazily, and the wind carries all sounds evenly, preventing disruption. The ocean's own rhythm merges with these elements, creating a serene, continuous soundtrack for the night. Standing in imagination at the edge of this night sea, you feel the wind brushing lightly against your skin. Moonlight dances across the waves, and the steady motion of water mirrors your own breathing. Each inhale rises with a gentle crest, each exhale falls with a soft trough. Your thoughts slow, settling into the rhythm of wind, water, and light. The wind moves without urgency, carrying calm across the ocean and connecting distant shores, reefs, and hidden coves. Every ripple, every gentle movement, reflects the patient, deliberate nature of its journey. The night sea becomes a sanctuary of quiet energy, guided by the wind's steady presence. Beyond the horizon, the wind will travel again toward forests, mountains, valleys, and icy plains. Each landscape carries the calm it has absorbed from the night sea, ensuring continuity, patience, and serenity wherever it flows. But here, above these gentle waves, the wind demonstrates perfect harmony, moving quietly, endlessly, and without effort. It drifts without rush. It touches without pressure. It simply exists, guiding the night toward deep, restorative calm. As the gentle wind moves from the calm night sea, it drifts back toward the burning mountains, where heat and fire glow faintly under the moonlight. Even at night, these volcanoes hold warmth that rises slowly, creating subtle currents in the surrounding air. The wind approaches them carefully, moving with patience and respect, aware of the delicate balance between fire and cool night air. The molten glow reflects softly on clouds above, painting the night sky with streaks of deep red and orange. The wind drifts through the scene quietly, smoothing edges, blending heat and darkness into a cinematic, mesmerizing tableau. The mountains are alive with gentle motion, yet nothing here is rushed or chaotic. The wind honors the rhythm of the land. Lava flows slowly, carrying heat into cooled fields, and the wind rises lightly above it, feeling the warmth without disturbing it. Ash and small particles float upward, lifted just enough to drift slowly before settling again. Every motion is deliberate and controlled, creating a sense of harmony that extends across the slopes. Animals in the area remain cautious yet peaceful. Nocturnal creatures move softly among rocks and sparse vegetation. Birds roost in distant trees or cliffs, their feathers barely shifting with the night air. The wind carries scent and sound gently, allowing every creature to exist without alarm or disruption. Even in this fiery landscape, life feels supported and calm. Clouds above the mountains continue their slow, deliberate drift. Moonlight mixes with firelight to illuminate ridges and valleys with soft contrasts. The wind passes through them lightly, shaping the patterns without forcing them. Light and shadow flow together, merging warmth and coolness, creating a scene both powerful and profoundly serene. Temperature differences between glowing lava and cooler air are balanced by the wind's careful motion. Warm currents rise slowly, cool air descends evenly, and the wind blends the layers seamlessly. There are no abrupt shifts, no sudden gusts. Everything moves in quiet equilibrium. Sounds are minimal yet present. Occasional crackles of distant lava, faint movement of small animals, and the whisper of air against rocks create a gentle rhythm. The wind carries each sound without disturbance, spreading them evenly, transforming potential noise into a soft, meditative pattern. As you imagine standing on a safe ridge near these night-burning mountains, the wind brushes softly against your face. The glow of molten rock illuminates distant peaks, moonlight mixes with firelight, and shadows stretch gently across cooled lava fields. Your breathing slows, matching the rhythm of rising warmth and drifting air. Thoughts quiet, and your body relaxes deeply. The wind moves steadily, guiding calm across fiery slopes, valleys, and distant lands. Its presence teaches patience, resilience, and balance. Even in the warmth of night fires, it flows without rush, touches without pressure, and maintains harmony in every layer of air and landscape. Beyond these burning mountains, the wind will carry serenity toward seas, forests, valleys, and distant peaks. Each landscape absorbs and reflects this calm, creating continuity, safety, and restorative energy. But here, amidst subtle firelight and rising warmth, the wind achieves a unique balance, a gentle, cinematic presence in a world of contrasts. It flows without haste. It touches without force. It simply exists, blending warmth and night into perfect serenity. As the gentle wind leaves the burning mountains behind, it drifts once more into the forest, where night embraces the trees in soft darkness. The moonlight filters through leaves and branches, casting long, delicate shadows across the forest floor. Every tree, every leaf, every branch is bathed in silver light, and the wind moves among them like a silent guardian, careful, deliberate, and tender. The leaves respond with the faintest movement, swaying gently, creating waves that ripple through the canopy. The sound is soft, almost imperceptible, a whisper that calms rather than disturbs. Branches creak quietly under the night's embrace, but the wind carries nothing abruptly. Every motion is measured, slow, and cinematic, blending seamlessly with the forest's quiet rhythm. The forest floor is soft under the touch of night. Fallen leaves, needles, and moss absorb every sound and movement. Small nocturnal animals scurry or rest in hidden burrows, perfectly synchronized with the slow rhythm of wind and shadow. Birds remain perched, feathers ruffled lightly, sensing the steady flow of air around them. Every living creature here moves with a quiet mindfulness, guided by instinct and the gentle presence of the wind. Above, the moon floats high in the clear sky. Stars shimmer faintly through gaps in clouds, and soft beams of light highlight the forest's textures. The wind drifts slowly through the upper branches, shaping the path of clouds above, brushing gently over leaves, and maintaining a calm, continuous motion. Shadows stretch, contract, and merge with the moonlight, creating a cinematic play of light and dark that flows endlessly. Temperature in this forest is balanced perfectly. Cool night air mingles with residual warmth from the day absorbed by the earth and trees. The wind glides between these layers softly, maintaining comfort for every living being. There are no sudden gusts, no abrupt changes, only the steady, even flow that encourages rest and deep calm. Snow or frost glistens faintly on some branches, lifted occasionally by the wind to drift in slow, graceful arcs. Each flake rises and settles softly, joining the natural rhythm of the night. Even these tiny movements contribute to the forest's peaceful harmony, adding to the sense of wonder and comfort in the scene. Sounds are minimal but soothing. Leaves rustle quietly, distant branches crackle lightly, and the wind carries every tiny whisper evenly throughout the forest. Nothing startles, nothing interrupts. The natural symphony of night continues seamlessly, creating an environment where thought slows, the mind rests, and the body relaxes completely. As you imagine yourself here, standing among these trees, the wind brushes gently against your skin. Moonlight illuminates the forest in silver and gray, shadows stretch endlessly, and the quiet movement of leaves mirrors the rhythm of your own breathing. Each inhale rises like a leaf drifting upward. Each exhale falls like a snowflake settling softly on the forest floor. The world feels safe, infinite, and serene. The wind moves tirelessly, exploring valleys, rivers, mountains, seas, and forests it has passed before, carrying calm to every landscape. Its journey is continuous, gentle, and unending. Every touch, every movement, every flow teaches patience, balance, and restfulness. The night responds to it in return, embracing the wind's presence and allowing every living thing to experience profound stillness. Finally, as the wind settles into the forest's heart, a sense of completeness emerges. The trees, shadows, snow, and moonlight merge into one seamless landscape of calm. The wind lingers just long enough to ensure peace, then drifts quietly onward, leaving the forest, the mountains, and the seas in perfect harmony. It moves without urgency. It touches without force. It simply exists, carrying serenity, calm, and restorative energy across the night, creating a sanctuary for rest and deep, peaceful sleep.